To sew the zigzag stitch, you need 2 pieces of fabric with the seam allowance drawn on, and we're going to pin it together exactly like we did the straight stitch. So starting at one end, lining up your stitch lines all the way down. That one's a little off. One more, just for good measure. There we go. Before we can begin stitching, we need to change some of our settings. So we need to actually jump over to the zigzag stitch, which is indicated by this zigzag shape, and that is stitch number 10. So we're gonna bump up to number 10. Let's see. Yeah, let's leave our zigzag width at 5. That's a pretty good size. And we want to change our length up to a 3, just like we always do. But the important part is that we actually are in the zigzag stitch. So now we can start sewing. Just like whenever you are sewing any other stitch, you're going to want to make sure you have your tray to collect your pins. Now, there's 2 different ways that we could line up the zigzag stitch. You can see how the needle is all the way to the left. Well, that's one side of the zigzag. It's going to jump to the right. And so we could line up our line with where the needle is hitting right now. And so our zigzag would hit this side of the stitch line and then go into the seam allowance. That is normally how we would sew this. But for practice sake, I want you guys to line up the middle of your stitch line with this center part of the presser foot so that your zigzag is actually crossing over the center line here. Okay, so just like always, we put our pressure foot down. We're gonna go forward a couple of stitches. These machines weirdly like to take a couple of straight stitches before it begins. I, for good measure, still prefer to back stitch. And then you're just gonna go all the way to the end. And you can see how the needle is jumping back and forth. It is really good practice to line up your stitch line to the center of the zigzag, because oftentimes we're using a zigzag to apply trim or to do a type of gathering stitch that the advanced students have to do. All right, I'm back at the end. Always back stitch. Take this off, trim my threads on both sides. Come here. Okay, so if you have done it successfully, you should see that your stitch line is running right in the middle of the zigzag, and you can tell very easily where the back stitches are. So now this is ready to take to the iron to be pressed as its final step. The final step in finishing your zigzag seam is to press it to one side. So because this is a zigzag, we can't really press the seam open like we did a straight stitch. It just doesn't work. It's bulky because we've got this much width that we're trying to collapse. So usually with a zigzag, you want to press the seams to one side. So I'm actually gonna press my stitches first because that's gonna make the fibers kind of shrink up a little bit. Not a true ton, but a little bit. And then I'm gonna, from the right side, push against my zigzag stitches, just like this. Remember, you always want to press from the right side and the wrong side. I just happen to be starting from the right side first. So there's my right side, pressing the wrong side again. And so now the seam allowance is pressed to one side, which makes this all nice and neat and flat for a garment.